So it looks like we were wrong about Viego being the new mind control champion. New information has been released that his wife, Isolde, is actually going to be the new mind control champion. Recently, new information has been revealed that we have gotten more hints about why this is true, how this is true, and what her abilities might be. Let's begin our journey with something that a Riot employee said about the new coming champions in this year.
3 new champions we will be releasing this year will also tie into Viego's return. Now for a while, we've been wanting to add more magic damage fighters, especially one tailor-made for top lane. We believe snipping a bigger space out of our roster for AP fighters will not only lead to more diversity in top lane, but also more choices for other lanes as well. And with that goal in mind, we began to sew together a new champion for the Ruined King's return. But where do their loyalties lie?
Tailor-made? Sewing? Snipping? It's like, I know I wear glasses, but I didn't know I'm freaking 9,000 IQ. These are very, very interesting things that a Riot employee said, and you could tell he was saying them on purpose, both with his body language and, you know, the subtitles and his everything. It's so obvious. So there are obviously some things that we can take away from what we just saw. The sewing, the snipping, the tailor-made. These are things that Viego has often talked about and things that we could see even in his splash art. But before that, let's read a quick passage about Isolde that's going to answer a lot of questions that we were unsure about and even explain more about what the Riot employee was saying. Sometimes the eyes were just too far apart or too close together, or her cheeks were a little too thin or a little too wide. Sometimes her hands lacked the calluses of a seamstress, but other times they were gnarled and thick from long days holding scissors and needles. She wore a gown some days, and others a simple work frock, and on others still she wore nothing at all. She was never the same, but always the same. Never there, but always present. The ghost of the heart. Viego no longer possessed. This passage by Viego is very interesting for a lot of reasons. First, we can look at the part where she's talked about scissors and needles. This is very similar to what the Riot employee said when he was giving small hints about what might come in the new top laner. We could see that we can safely assume Isolde is the new champion that will be released as the top laner. Going on from that, it says that Viego sees her but doesn't see her, that she was similar to what he thought he saw and others not at all. This is why in the cinematic he almost mistaked his own wife for Senna, showing that he wasn't sure and that he's extremely messed up from whatever happened. More on the champion herself, we could assume some abilities she might not have from the scissors and needles. It's interesting to tie this in to Lucian and Senna, especially because now with all of this information, we know that Lucian is not the biggest simp in the video game League of Legends, it's Viego. Honestly, this entire game is revolving around simps now. We got Lucian and Senna, Sylas and Lux. Who else? I think I'm going to become like a predictor of champions just based on boys and girls and who likes who and who likes the other person. Now, although we have a lot of information about Isolde, we don't have much information on how she looked, other than a few assumptions that she's some crazy looking witch, which is pretty freaking accurate. One real source of information that we do have on our look is this splash art picture of Viego and a torn poster. In the background, we see that he's holding someone, and although she might look like she has red hair, it's probably going to be white, just like how Viego used to have brown hair and is now white. In a tweet by SpiderAxe, it's confirmed that the creator of Isolde is Stashu. Now, Stashu has designed Kiana, Aphelios, and Rel. A lot of champions with many different kinds of abilities, especially Aphelios, who completely changed his way and playstyle, which we might be able to see in Isolde, especially if they're going for that mind control tactic. We can assume that the scissors and needles might be used to control an enemy champion from far away. Obviously, it's not going to be someone who's melee, but someone who's ranged and can control from far away with these kinds of information that we're getting. SpiderAxe also tweeted that Viego still has his ring, and you actually can see it barely just right here. So it looks like Riot really was trying to make it obvious how big of a simp he was. Simp. As the Riot employee said, the 3 next champions will all be related to Viego. Now there's a big assumption that the one after Isolde might actually be Urius, Lucian's father, and there's a bunch of information tying into this, but we'll stay on track for the sake of this video and talk specifically about Isolde, although it's nice and cool to mention that someone else from the history and relationships of current champions might show up again. The real question is, where will Isolde tie up into all this? A big question is, will she side with Viego, or will she side with Lucian and Senna fighting against him? Of course, she's been gone for a very long time, and Viego does not seem like he's been in the best shape since, so we can assume that she's obviously going to play an important part into what we see next, both in the cinematic, and this might also tie into what we see in her as an ability-based champion. Like Yasuo and Yone, having very similar abilities but not being the exact same person, it's interesting to talk about how Viego has a few mind control abilities like his passive, which is why a lot of people assumed he was the mind control champion that was up and coming, but we can also assume that Isolde will have even more influence on that, and she might have similar abilities to Viego, just like how I said Yasuo and Yone have very similar abilities but are still their own separate champion. And you could even argue Lucian and Senna. All of these relation-based champions have very strong similarities in what they do. If you play Viego, you'll realize that there are a lot of quotes that he has talking about Isolde, and we can get a lot of information about who she is with that. Here we're going to listen to the 8 quotes that he mentions her name in when you're playing as Viego.
Isolde is gone, yet I remain. Isolde was my life. Viego died when she did, and the ruined king was born. Why, Isolde? Why do you hide your face from me? Ah, the monk from the waters. And someone else. Isolde? Isolde! I could not see myself in your eyes. Isolde! I know it is you. Show yourself to me.
I'm going to safely assume Viego's like just a little bit upset, and like, you know, sometimes he's just like in the downs and this is straight up not having a good time, dude. Like I said earlier in the video, Viego seems to mistaken Senna for Isolde. You can see that also in the cinematic, but it's very interesting to see why he does that. As well as Senna, Yorick, who's from the Shadow Realm, is also being constantly questioned by Viego about Isolde, showing that although she may have died, she could be back, just like how Senna had been gone and came back. So it's interesting to see what we might have when she comes back and how it will react with Viego. So what does this mean about Isolde? Well, from the information we gathered, we know she's a top laner, she's going to be an AP mage, her abilities are definitely going to be influenced and really just common to the theme of scissors, tailor-made sewing, which really makes you think, you know, her ability is going to be controlling people from far away, her ability is going to be, you know, using strings kind of like a puppet master. All of these are safe to assume, but these are all the things that we know about Isolde now. Hopefully we get some more information soon. I definitely think we will, because they're revealing a lot in such a short amount of time. But until then, thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys the next time more information comes out on Isolde. Have a good day. Bye.